Hello, everyone, and welcome to Think Yourself Healthy podcast. I'm your host, Heather Duranja. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey, everybody. On today's episode of Think Yourself Healthy, I have special guest, Dr. Raymond Nichols. He is here to connect the disconnected, the disempowered, and the suffering back to their authentic power and expression. He helps people function better, heal better, and adapt to life better by ensuring the brain-body connection is functioning optimally. He owns AlignLife Chiropractic in Greenville, South Carolina, along with his beautiful wife, Dr. Mariya Shaeffer. He has served on many leadership boards in the past, and most recently, their clinic was awarded the fastest growing out of 40 clinics. Congratulations. That is an amazing feat, especially being a family man and having so much on your plate. Congratulations to you both.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey. Obviously, any business is a journey, but it's definitely it's been a beautiful journey. Actually, the ups and the downs.
Oh, that's amazing. And owning a holistic practice in itself can have its challenges, right? Especially nowadays, with everything going on in the world, and there's so much censorship happening. It can really be a challenge to get the message out there and be able to embrace holistic lifestyle practices to improve our overall health.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. So how are you combating all of this censorship and things right now that are happening in the world? How are you trying to get around it?
I think so. Looking at this whole, when we talk about like having a holistic practice, and versus your mainstream like medical office per se, right? So I think that it's not a new thing for us when you're talking about the holistic realm, especially when you're talking about chiropractors for one, because we're definitely not mainstream. We've been called all kind of things as a profession. To my face, like I've experienced it, like it is what it is.
Right.
And the thing that comes up for me is that this isn't a new thing. This situation is happening. And so I feel like we've always prepared for this because we know that once we open our doors up, people aren't going to just like be running to our office and like line up outside the door once we open. Like we know that's not what's real when it comes to holistic care, when it comes to chiropractic care. Like you have to get out there, like it's a grind. You have to get out there, get yourself out there, meet people, shake hands, have coffee, do events. Like you have to get your face out there. And that's the difference between a holistic practice and if I'm just a medical doctor, I finish up and I just start my practice and literally people just start coming to my door because that's the mainstream narrative and that's what people are looking for the most part. So we got to get our face out there in front of people and show them that, hey, you're looking for us, right?
Right.
And get our message out there.
So really what I'm hearing you say is that it's really all about trying to earn that trust, right? Try to capture the interest of individuals and be able to build that trust relationship, which can be a really challenging thing nowadays, especially with their, being around health and wellness. There's so much misinformation out there. And I think that consumers, for the most part, get bombarded with information. And because we live these crazy, hectic lifestyles, we're so busy, we don't have a lot of time to do research and discern information that, is being presented to us. It can get very confusing.
Confusing, yeah.
And a lot of times consumers kind of just check out. They just kind of say, it's too much. I don't have time for this. And they just go about their disconnected ways.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you intervene? How do you challenge someone to think outside of the box and really try to encourage them to take personal responsibility for their health?
Yeah, great question. And I think what comes up for me is that I know, so I've been that person before, like, so that really helps me.
Okay.
Because I know exactly where they at. I know where their mindset is. I know just like lifestyles, because I've seen the unhealthiest, right? I've seen the healthiest. So I have like this whole spectrum where I can see from here to here. And so anyone that steps into the office, I know that most likely they're coming from this perspective here. So my job as a facilitator is to, I'm not going to be like just throw everything on them that I know. It's more so of like, let me come back to you and like meet you where you're at, right?
Yeah.
And let's talk, right? So let's talk, let's connect. And I think the thing I've only been practicing like almost 3 years now. Hasn't been long at all, actually. But the thing I really noticed is that people want to be heard.
Yeah.
Right. So people want to be heard and they want connection. Right. Yes, they want results as well. But I think when they feel heard and they get the connection, I think that's actually the starting point of the healing journey, when you actually dive deeper into that. And also when patients come in, I make sure I hold the space for them to be vulnerable, to share their goals, share their struggles, because that's what I need, right? I need that. I need these things, and they actually need to say it too, so that they can start a new health trajectory and like where they want to take their health. And so I think that's what comes to mind when you talk about that and trying to help people just meet them where they at, opposed to kind of like talking, I guess, down on them. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a good approach to just try to meet people where they at, and just bring them along the journey if they want to. Yep.
I love that. I love that perspective. What I'm hearing you say is that you're really compassion based. You're really about holding that space, holding that compassion, being the empath, putting yourself into the shoes of the individual whom is desperately seeking guidance and help, and then being able to, come up with some sort of realistic solution for where they're at in their present moment. That's beautiful. I think that's such a necessary approach to the wellness journey, because more often than less, I see a lot of individuals, they're desperate to start feeling better. They're ready to get started. And then they get bombarded with this overwhelming protocol that, really shakes their world, and they can do it for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And life happens and they can't stay consistent, and then they become defeated and they say, fuck it. And they go back to the self-sabotage. So I love that. And honestly, that has been one of the core components of my practice as well.
Okay. Nice.
It's really trying to identify the barriers that are standing in the way, and then being able to help them devise a solution, some sort of strategy that's going to be realistic for their circumstances at the moment. Yes. So I love that.
Love it. Yeah. And I love the fact that you say that it can be overwhelming for people, right? And not sustainable for people. And so I think as a health facilitator, or as a guy, whatever you want to call yourself, is that you're there, right, to be like, hey, I know what this journey looks like, and this is where you need to step at, right? These are the foundation. Like, you need to step here, and if you don't, like, if you end up stepping here, like I'm here, like I grab you, you can hold on to me for a second, right? And then until we're able to get back on that path. I think that's where we're at, like in this journey of trying to help our patients, help clients get just stay on this track, right? Because we know life happens, right? But the thing is, like, adaptability is the name of the game.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
Right. It is. That it's definitely the name of the game, and we have to be able to adapt to life, even when it hits us in the face. Adapt to our health, like adapt to everything, and I think that's the bigness of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you used the word adapt, because I think that as humans, and the way that society cultivates expectation, we are an instant gratification. It has to be done right now. And we've lost sight of what it truly is to embrace an adaptation. The human body is designed to adapt. That's what it's all about. Our immune system, like everything that's going on right now, this whole pandemic, it's insane. It's like, we can't control these circumstances, but we can adapt. And for some, I'm not quite sure how all of the medical professionals and the scientists out there have kind of forgotten that concept, right? Like they've just completely washed it. So it's important to remind individuals that we are meant to adapt. That's the whole purpose of this human experience, is to adapt in all ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. God, I love that.
100%. Yeah. And just speaking from a chiropractic standpoint, that's the whole point of chiropractic. That was the whole basis of chiropractic, to help an individual adapt better to life, to their experiences. Because we will get bombarded with physical stresses, emotional stresses, toxic stresses every single day. Right. But is our vessel strong enough, resilient enough to be able to adapt to these things? And I think it is. And it's very, very intelligent as well.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I love that perspective. I love that that's how you're approaching, the business. So tell me, Dr. Nichols, what brought you along your health journey that made you seek becoming a chiropractor?
So I think what comes up for me is when how I kind of told you that I've seen what sick people look like, are unhealthy, heavily medicated, undernourished, no movement. And so those people that I'm talking about is my family.
Okay.
Right. Yep. And so I'm from Mississippi originally. So Mississippi is one of the most unhealthy states in America, actually, unfortunately. And so what comes with that, yes, we have great, amazing food. But I think that's what comes with it, is that I've seen it legit, majority of people in my family, I would say have at least two metabolic chronic diseases, right? And then I see my family members having these just bags of medication that they take with them to doctor after specialist after doctor after specialist. And I grew up seeing this disconnect. And for me, I think kids are very intuitive. And I think we're able to really listen to that until a big adult washed it away, I guess. But as a kid, I was very intuitive, and I was able to listen and see and observe. It's like, okay, I see a trend here, and it doesn't look fun, right? From a kid perspective, it doesn't look fun to take medications all day, to not be able to be healthy, not be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And so for me, that's why I wanted to go down a different path. I never knew what the path looked like, but I was open and I was curious to something different. And I think that was the bigness of it. And that's how I landed onto chiropractic, or chiropractic found me. Because the basis of chiropractic is that the body is self-healing, self-maintaining, and self-organizing, right? It just doesn't need any interference in the way of that. And that that message and that core principle, it's my core principle too. And it just resonated so much. And that's what got me on got me to go to chiropractic school, because knowing that aspect, I'm like, man, this is powerful. People need to know that. And also it's empowering to know, right? Your body is self-healing, self-maintaining, and self-organizing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what more do we need to know, right?
Hey, look, I like to keep things very, very simple. I feel like we try to complicate things as human beings, because we think we are big, tough, and just super smart. And we're not as smart as what we think we are. And I keep saying that, but we think we are. So we tend to get in the way. Because I actually seen a quote, it was the other day. It talked about, I'm going to butcher it, but it talked about basically chaos, right? Chaos isn't a thing of nature, right? It's actually our man typically creates chaos in nature, because nature has a certain frequency, a certain tone, a certain harmony, in a certain, you can say, homeostasis to it, right? That it runs right flawlessly if it's not interrupted.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm a strong believer that chaos was created by man in order to keep us enslaved in these systems that are extremely profitable. And the second that the chaos starts to settle, that's when the systems are in significant trouble, because we are going to wake up to our truth. We are going to recognize that, you know, why am I taking all these medications, going to all these specialists and continuing to get sicker? This doesn't make any sense. How is this possible? Right? So yeah, I'm a firm believer that chaos was created as a measure to help control us and keep us in a state of chronic stress. And the more stressed we are, the more dependent we are on these dysfunctional systems that keep us surviving. They don't let us thrive. They keep us surviving, and we become dependent on them to a point where we are the victim. We give away all of our power, and we are desperately seeking the next quick fix to get us through our day.
I love that perspective. That's awesome. Thanks for
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it is the truth. Every single cell within my body resonates with that being the truth, and that it's my core responsibility to collaborate with like-minded individuals like yourself, so that we can truly bring awareness and get people to think, do I truly have the power to heal myself? And if so, where do I get started?
Yeah.
In 1993, I got diagnosed with having a autoimmune kidney disease. I got diagnosed with IgA nephropathy and told that at that point, I only had 60% function in my kidneys, and that within the next 5 years, I would either be on dialysis or transplant. And when I got this diagnosis and the prognosis, there was something within my body that just said, I can't accept that as my truth. And my doctors, my nephrologists, my team said to me, there's nothing you can do to change these circumstances. No lifestyle changes are going to improve your prognosis. And I could not settle with that. I said, I don't know about that. Well, and then I ended up getting kicked off of my parents' health insurance for not being a full-time college student, and then couldn't get health insurance for having a pre-existing condition. And for me, this was literally the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I did not fall into that trap of conventional medicine and become the victim. I learned how to seek information, empower myself through lifestyle change. And I have bought 29 quality years on my life from that day that they gave me that prognosis. So I'm here to speak truth and tell people and remind them, you are adaptive, just like my friend Dr. Nichols here is preaching. It can happen for you.
Love that. Love your story. I love your story. Thanks for sharing that. That's amazing, right?
Yeah. My why is I literally grew up similar to you, being a victim of circumstances. My family, I'm from Midwest myself. I grew up in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. And, it's definitely not one of the healthier states out there. And as a result of that, I didn't have a lot of exposure to health and wellness. Yeah. So I'm curious, when you make this decision, you're observing your environment and you're saying, I'm not accepting this as my fate. And you challenge it and you choose to seek knowledge and a profession to become a health and wellness practitioner. Did your family, did your close environment, did they give you a hard time? Did they judge you? Did they say, man, who the hell you think you are?
I only laugh because yes, it is true. And I expected that. So I'm sure you heard the phrase, I guess you would say crabs in the barrel, right? Yeah. Right. So we've heard that phrase, right? It could be used in many scenarios, but in this scenario, I think it's appropriate. Is because when yes, I want to go to chiropractic school. Yes, I was like, oh, they were like, because at that point I had just graduated undergrad. And like, hey, you just got a degree, like just go. Like, I want to be an athletic trainer. Just what I'm saying, go get a job and be an athletic trainer. But with me, I knew there was something bigger, something greater. I'm not saying that athletic training isn't that, but it just wasn't for me. Right. It was just my stepping stone to get to where I am today. And I'm very grateful for it. And so, but I didn't listen to it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to chiropractic school because this is something that I really want to do. Cause we don't have a doctor, we don't have a chiropractor, like we don't have any of that in my family. Like I was the first, I've been the first of many things, just breaking generational curses, I like to call it, disrupting the cycle, like they call it as well. And then so what happens is we have this mentality of like, they want to pull somebody down. But the thing is, let's not get it twisted that it's the wrong intentions. I think the intentions are there for your families. I believe that they love you, but they're only looking at it from a certain perspective and a certain lens, right? That's going to be limiting to you. And if you listen, it's going to be limiting to you. But I didn't listen, and I understood that concept because I understand that because they've known me all their life, and I'm trying to do something else that's literally beyond what they could even imagine. Like honestly, like that's the truth of it. And me being able to do that, like that's something totally different. And it's like, all right, it needs you to come back here, because now if you go do that, then that means that you're going to change. And also that means if you change, then I'm going to change as well. And then it's just all this change. A lot of people, they're not good with change, right? So that's why I get the comment when I go back home. It's like, oh, Raymond, you're different. Yeah. I should be different, right?
Yeah. I love that. So I have to be honest with you. When you started to go there with the analogy of the crabs, you literally set my soul on fire, because that is one that I used quite often to explain to people. When we're cultivated in an environment where there's a set standard of living expectation, when the one person wants to challenge that standard and go above and beyond what has been acceptable for that environment unit, as that crab is trying to crawl up out of the cage, the other crabs are literally climbing on top of one another to grab it and pull it back down. You ain't getting out. Because if you get out, then that means I have to turn around and look at myself and ask myself, why am I not getting out? What responsibility and accountability do I have to take to improve my life and circumstances? And most people, like you said, they're scared of change. They're not willing to put that effort in. So when you make that choice, it causes them to have to turn around and do some self-reflecting and accept that their circumstances are by choice, right? This isn't circumstance by victimization. This is by choice. And that's where people don't want to go. They're like, no, I do not want to see the possibilities.
But that's the thing. I think it's the possibilities of, like, that's the beauty of life, I feel like. And I think that's also a possibility when we're talking about your patients, your clients, and for helping facilitate, saying their health journey, is that you open up possibilities. Because me, as through my lens, like, I know the power of the body. I know how intelligent the body is, even if the person in front of me has no idea. Like, they're just totally victim. They just come into my office because they want Dr. Ray to crack them up and fix them, right? Because I always let them know, like, I'm not fixing you. I can't fix you. I can't heal you. I can't. And they look at me like I'm crazy, but I literally tell them that. Because what happens is there's no other doctor that's told them that in their entire lives.
Right.
And so what happens, it causes them to just hit the brakes and like, whoa, like, what do you mean?
Right.
Right. And so when we ask, like, what do you mean? Now they get curious and like, that makes sense. We're onto something here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very, very, very interesting when you're talking about these concepts here.
Honestly, Dr. Ray, I absolutely love that approach, because as small children, we're taught to hand our power over to the white coats, right? We get sick. We're a little kid. We get a fever. Mama comes in, mama feels us, says, oh no, we got to take you to the doctor. This is how we are conditioned to believe that health is exchanged, right? We get sick, then we go to the doctor prescribes whatever necessary means to make us feel better. So we disempower ourselves by becoming the victim of illness and handing the power over to the white coats to, formulate the solution. And we know very well that the solutions tend to be pharmacological agents or surgeries that aren't true lifelong solutions that, get to the root of the problem, that truly allow the body to adapt and heal like it needs to. So the fact that the patient comes to you and you say to them, hey, man, I can guide you. I can help assist you, but I can't heal you. I can't fix you. That's really what we need to be doing with children. That's the kind of mindset that we need to start cultivating and ensuing at a very early age, so that they truly understand the power that they hold. And that power is through choice.
Yes. No, you're exactly right. Especially, I tell you, I have 3 kids, and this actually came up with my 3-year-old. So she's always running and falling and skinning her knees up. So this time she skinned her knee up, and she wanted a Band-Aid, got a Band-Aid. So a few days passed by, and I realized I was about to give her a bath, and we took the Band-Aid off and everything. And like, she noticed, it was awareness, and she like, oh, Dad, my boo-boo's gone.
Oh.
And so right then and there, and as you're just talking about, like, teaching our kids these things, I'm like, dang, this is the opportunity to teach her how the body heals itself. I'm like, baby, your body heals itself, right? And she got so excited. She ran upstairs, told Mariya that, she told her mom that, hey, my body healed. So like, to this day, like, she says that, and she continues to say that. Wow. I think that is like so empowering. Yeah.
I've got the goosebumps. Yeah, no, truly, it really, truly is empowering, because ultimately she's celebrating all 50 trillion cells in her body and their ability to do what they're meant to do. That's just beautiful.
Yeah. Because, and I think, and also the same thing happened last week. She's had like she's had some fever for about 4 days, right around 100, 101. But obviously understanding symptoms and knowing what symptoms is just communication. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, where they don't understand symptoms and like that. It's just communicating to us. And now we just got to lean in to see, like, what is it telling us, and what do we need to do in order to help the body a little more. Because in our household, we were trying to use the word sick, because I feel like that has it's almost like a negative, disempowering state. We actually just flip it and be like, okay, we're expressing health, right? So if I have a fever, that's a sign. That's a just a healthy expression.
Yeah. Oh,
right. And so we just flip it, and then so she was coughing, had a fever. And like, before I had left, and he asked her mom before I left for work. She's like, Mom, can you adjust me? Because mom's chiropractor too. And like, that was just, I just smiled. I'm like, holy shit. Wow. Like,
yeah, talk about breaking generational patterns and empowering the new generation. Yeah. Wow, that is, man, what a beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. And
yeah, you're welcome.
And just the modeling of your behavior, you're really empowering your children to be their own advocates, to be their own healthcare experts. And what a sentiment, what a legacy to leave, right? And not just that, but then also the influence that you have on other parents, just through social interaction, through your practice, as well as just your community as a parent. How amazing.
Yeah. I think that's what we're here for. It's here to just be an example. I try to just be an example. I'm not perfect, but I try to be an example for kids, patients, for people. Right.
I love that. And I think that we have to really start having conversations around the expectation should never be perfection, because perfection is an illusion. It doesn't really exist. It's all about ebb and flowing. Like you said earlier, being able to adapt to the current circumstances, recognize that this is a temporary situation and that I just have to adapt my behavior in order to make it through this. and then on to the next thing, because we have this unfortunate, expectation that life is going to be perfect, right? We'll get started on our health and wellness journey once I get through XYZ. Yeah. And then you get through XYZ, and then LMNOP is right around the corner waiting for you. Say, hey, you forgot about us. We got to take a few steps back.
Yeah.
So how do you teach people, how do you help encourage people, especially when it comes to nutrition, how to adapt to making changes that are going to have lasting benefits?
Well, I think, again, I keep things as simple as possible so that it's sustainable.
Yeah.
Right? So when we talk about the foundations of just being a human being, being healthy, talking about the movement, right? I think that's super important. So, and it's just like move, right? It doesn't have to be for like going to the gym, lifting thousands of pounds. Like you can just a walk.
Yeah.
Just go on a walk and just go outside, like enjoy your neighborhood, enjoy, like see your neighbors, like say hey or whatever, right? wherever you're at.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is that most adults get somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 steps a day as average, which isn't crazy. Much. And I myself, I am not a fan of any kind of organized exercise. All right. You tell me I have to get in the gym and I'm going to be like, make every excuse in the book. I got a tummy ache, my knee hurts, my foot's hurting. Oh, my hair's bad. I will come up with every excuse, but you get my ass outside and you let me play. Yeah, that is a completely different situation. I totally love embracing play as my modality for movement. Yeah, and it's 100%. Exciting, to get out in nature and have a little play. It's really about shifting the perspective.
Yeah, it's all about the perspective. Yes, all about the perspective. And like, even like, saying obviously hydration, recuperation, super important, especially in this stressful world. Just taking a break, just pausing.
Absolutely. Hydration.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a chiropractor, I'm sure you see people stiff as boards, muscles, joints, everything stiff as freaking boards. The population is so dehydrated. I want to say the most recent statistic I saw was like 85% of the adult population in the US is chronically dehydrated. That's frightening.
Wow. Yeah.
And so when we're dehydrated, we're going to have stiff, achy joints and muscles, right? It's going to create a lot of pain. We're going to have a lot of inflammation, and just sipping on some water in itself could be a step in the right direction to get us feeling better. Yeah. The brain is comprised mostly of water. I think 70 to 80% of the brain is made up of water. And if we're 1 to 2% dehydrated, that's going to have a significant impact on our cognitive function, specifically our energy levels. Yes. And we've got people walking around chronically tired. I don't have any energy. I'm so fatigued. I would love to make breakfast, but I'm just too tired to make breakfast.
Yeah. 100%. Right? I'm there with you. And to kind of bring it full circle when we're talking about adaptability is that goes to show how adaptive. I'm looking outside. I'm seeing my neighbor. Tomorrow's trash day.
Oh, okay.
And we have like recycle bins. And I've noticed this before. And we're talking about dehydration, though, that this is perfect actually. So legit, like in the trash bin, legit, like every week I saw at least 6 to 10 Pepsi 2-liter bottles, like 6 to 10 a week. I'm like, there's no possible way that they're drinking that many Pepsi bottles a week.
Yeah. It's really frightening because I, on a daily basis, have conversation with individuals about beverages, fluids that they're drinking. And I specialize in a population working with mental health and substance abuse recovery. So the majority of these individuals who are going through the recovery process, their brains are craving substance substitutes, sugar being one of the largest, nicotine, and then caffeine. So with the Coca-Cola, the Pepsi, they're getting their caffeine and they're getting their sugar. It's a double whammy. It is just, people don't realize how addictive these substances are to our psychology, the psychology of our brain and the physiology of our body.
Yeah.
They are so addictive.
So that's like that threw off my train of thought, but I thought it was perfect for
it is
for this dehydration piece of it. Because it was also a time for me to like, I guess kind of like, I don't know, like I live a certain lifestyle, but then I saw that like it just like, holy shit, there's no way that they're drinking that many. Like they have to be doing something else with these bottles. Like I try to think like what else could they be doing with these Pepsi bottles each week? Like I don't know. They can't be putting in their bodies though.
They are, unfortunately. I had a woman recently that I worked with who was recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, had dyslipidemia, obese, high blood pressure. And so when we're chatting and I'm kind of interviewing her to find out what these root causes could potentially be, she starts complaining about sleep. And ultimately what we discovered is that this particular woman was drinking 3 to 4 32-ounce fountain Pepsis a day. Okay.
Wow.
When I did the math and explained to this individual that they had a concentration of caffeine in their bloodstream that would literally take more than 3 weeks to cycle out of the bloodstream, it really put perspective to what she was doing, why she couldn't sleep, why she was so dependent on the caffeine first thing in the morning, why she was having dysregulated blood sugars, lack of sleep, increased caffeine and sugar. I mean, so anyway, I was really proud of this client because she decided to go all in and put the effort.
Nice.
And she slowly weaned herself off of the soda, slowly incorporated more hydrating beverages. And within less than a month, she completely kicked the soda habit. And it was just absolutely beautiful how much it impacted her quality of sleep. And because her quality of sleep improved, how it showed up in her mood, her cognitive function, and her blood sugar regulation. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful situation.
Again, the body is very intelligent. Now I can bring it back full circle. Is that the fact that people are consuming this thing or living these different lifestyles or not drinking enough water, the body is that intelligence to know that it needs to hold on to what it has, especially when we're talking about water, because it knows it's not getting anywhere else, right? So it's like, all right, I know this human being right here, this person isn't getting us some hydration, so let's hold on to what we have, and we're going to function what we have, and we're going to prioritize things, and we're going to keep this human alive and still ticking as at the highest capacity as what we can.
Yeah.
Where I see like the human body working together, like different systems.
Yeah, no, that's such a beautiful example. I love that. And what people don't realize, we hear a lot of people complain about bloat, right? Oh, I'm so bloated. Why am I so bloated? Well, what most individuals don't recognize is that a lot of their abdominal distension, bloating that they're experiencing is because their body is desperate to hold on to any fluid that it's taking in. And most people eat, diets that are high in iodized sodium. They're getting it from their refined processed foods and the fast foods that they're eating. And this is a threat to our heart, to that potassium sodium channel.
Yeah.
And so the body is literally pulling in, holding on to any water it can in order to create that safe concentration of sodium and potassium to keep the heart, lungs, and brain functioning. Man, wow.
Yeah, no, the body's just so intelligent. The fact that I'm saying we can live these lifestyles like this and still be able to live, right? But then it's like, okay, like what is the possibility of if I was doing this, if I was doing this, if I was doing this, then what would my life look like? And I think that's a possibility that healthcare facilitators give people, right? And I think that's what we need to do in our overall healthcare system is to give them the possibility of like, hey, these are the foundational things that you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So like we have to be doing these foundational things, and your body is going to perform very, very well, more like well than you even expected.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, Dr. Ray, because in other countries, their governments cultivate these standards and
Yeah.
to their, citizens.
Yeah.
But here in the US, and specifically with what we've seen happen with the pandemic over the last 21 months, not once have we heard, get your ass outside, get some fresh air, get some sunlight, move your body, hydrate your body, put some nourishing food. Instead, we're getting promoted to go to Dunkin' Donuts and get our free coffee, and Krispy Kreme to get our free donut. And I think Taco Bell's giving shit away. Like,
everyone's giving.
what the heck? Like, how are we so broken?
Oh man, yeah, it's crazy, huh? Like it's almost like it can't be real. It's like all right, someone pinch me, like wake me up. Like it was funny, like wake me up now.
Right. It's for me, healthy lifestyle has been such a huge component of my life for literally almost the last 30 years. I'm 45 now.
Yep.
And for a good 30 years, I have literally utilized my time, energy, and my financial resources to cultivate the healthiest lifestyle possible. Now, again, there is no such thing as balance. There is no such thing as perfection. I ebb and flow through it. I went to Vegas last weekend and got married. Not an ideal circumstance. Thank you. Not an ideal circumstance because number one, my sleep fell very short. And then I was forced to eat out almost all of my meals from restaurants, where I got a lot of exposure to the iodized salt, which for me, having a kidney disease, as soon as I have too much of that iodized salt, my body just puffs up. And when I got home, I was up 9 pounds on the scale from where I had left on that that previous Thursday. So in a 5-day period, my body was not reacting to the poison that I was consuming from eating out, on top of having lack of sleep. Yeah. So I can still feel the residual effects of the inflammation from the bad fats and the sodium that I was, exposed to by choice. I could have packed meals, but what fun was that? Right? I had enough stress on my plate just trying to say I do, much less figure out, making my own food. But I'm aware. I know what the expectation is. I know what the consequences of this are going to be. So when I get home and step on that scale, I'm not mind fucked going, holy shit, I just gained 9 pounds. Life is over. Like, what am I going to do? But most society doesn't have that innate knowledge. They're not in tune with their body and have the ability to decipher and understand what was happening. But we can all be taught. We can all 100%. Get there.
100%. I'm totally there with you. Yeah, I'm on a mission to teach as many people as possible.
So for the listener right now who's intrigued and they're like, healthy lifestyle, this is an interesting consideration. What would your recommendation be for them to get started? How would you encourage them to just take the chance on themselves, make the choice to do one thing that is going to get them moving in the right direction?
Yeah. I always ask this question, actually. It's always a hard question because it's obviously more than one thing. But I think one thing that comes up for me is either you can go with meditation with this, or just taking a pause, or like just tuning into yourself, right? Just taking time for yourself. I'm talking about just like complete silence, nothing around, not your phone, like legit nothing. Right. So just pause, like that's it. Like, hey, time out. I'm going to my break, right? I'm about to check in. I'm going to my break. And so I think if we do that a little bit more often, then first I think our stress levels would decrease significantly, right? And also I feel like we will be able to start to connect to our inherent power, and also our intuitive instincts that I think that we all have, but because we get so disconnected, we don't listen to those things because we're just so disconnected, right? We don't even know what it even looks like or what it sounds like. So I think once we start to do that, I think a lot of different shifts will start to happen if we just pause, right? Because we live such a life of like go here, go there, go here. Like it's always go, 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 go. Like always.
Yeah.
Like it never stops.
That's such fabulous advice. And for me personally, it's the reverse of the approach that I took to my health and wellness journey. I started with nutrition and then incorporated exercise and hydration and all of the things. But the place that I had the most resistance around was that going in, was that taking alone time, was that meditation component.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was told over and over, Heather, you need to start doing meditation or else it's gonna blah, 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 blah. And then ultimately, after I got diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2011, I was going through a master's program. I was working full time as a dietitian, raising 2 teenage girls, and then also bartending nights and weekends, making ends meet. I was spread really thin. And so I get this diagnosis of cervical cancer, and my doctors, you know, they say, hey, we're going to need to do a surgery, and then we want to do radiation and chemotherapy to ensure that it doesn't come back. Well, for me, I had contracted HPV, and because I didn't have health insurance and I was going through, you know, Planned Parenthood, women's health for my women's health needs, I slipped through the cracks. And as a result of that, this HPV was able to go into cervical cancer in combination with my lifestyle habits at the time. So when I get this diagnosis, I'm pissed. I'm like, how? I've got nutrition down. I got exercise. I'm a damn dietitian. How can you me? And the reality is that the things, the core components, you know, I was not sleeping appropriately. I was maybe getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep. I was under immense stress. I was utilizing caffeine as a means to get me through my day, disrupted my entire gut health. And it was a perfect storm. So when these doctors recommend that I have these treatments, I said, I'm willing to do the surgery, but I'm not doing the chemo and I'm not doing the radiation. And they looked at me cross-eyed like I was just absolutely insane. And they argued with me. But I explained to them, look, I know I haven't been taking personal responsibility for the components of my lifestyle that are going to give me the biggest bang for my buck. And I at least owe it to myself to attempt to do what my body is meant to do before I take these drastic approaches that could have some really severe long-term negative consequences.
Gotcha. I love that.
And amen, I did it. And unfortunately, in 2019, I ended up getting HPV again. That's when I learned that there's over 200,000 strains, and for every sexual partner you have, you have the risk of getting a new strain. I was like, what? Crazy. So anyway, luckily, when I got that diagnosis, I leaned in really hard to the lifestyle habits, the stress management, the meditation, and really embraced these. And then within less than 6 months, my body had the ability to fight that HPV off, which
powerful.
Beautiful, right?
No, seriously, powerful.
Yeah.
And again, that's just one thing that people can do. I don't think it's overwhelming. You don't have to sit cross-legged or like make some noises. Like I'm just literally sit in a chair by yourself with your thoughts, with your body, and just see how it feels. It will feel uncomfortable at first because we're not used to just sitting with ourselves, sitting in silence, and just paying attention to ourselves. But I think when we pay attention to ourselves, then we're going to just learn so much about ourselves. It's like having a conversation with yourself.
Absolutely. You know, and one thing that I do want to bring to the listeners' awareness is that many of us, myself included, as a child, I grew up in an environment where relaxation was not acceptable. It was not something that was cultivated. You know, I talk a lot about how on Saturday mornings I would grab my bowl of cereal and run into the living room to sit down and start watching cartoons. And then either my grandmother or my mother would walk by and they'd be like, "What are you doing? Your bed needs to be made. There's leaves that need to be raked. You can rest when you die." And so for me at a very early age, I was conditioned to be attached to my central nervous system.
Yep.
Where sitting and rest and digest was not a environmentally acceptable thing in my family. And so as a result of that, I adopted a lot of OCD type of behaviors, a lot of perfectionist expectation, a lot of attachment to constantly doing, to avoid the potential criticism of relaxing and being with myself. And so it really took me until I was 40 years old to recognize that that was the root of why I couldn't meditate, that it was because my body was rejecting it because it had never been taught that it was okay to rest.
Okay.
You know, it's okay to be in a state of rest. So for me personally, walking meditation was the way that I eased myself into being alone with those thoughts and letting go of the judgment and the attachment to the criticism and all of those things. So what other kinds of tips do you have for the individuals who hardwired that CNS and don't know how to rest? What other ways can they start to embrace meditation to truly be able to reap the benefits long term?
I think what comes to mind is when we're talking about being in because that's almost like being in your flow state, right? Being in that state of like, there's time doesn't exist, like nothing really exists but whatever you're doing. And that could be different for other people. Like people love gardening, like do that, right?
Yes.
By yourself, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you're getting some physical activity in as well, like you just compounding that at that point. But like finding something that you love to do and not being no distraction, just doing just that thing.
Yeah.
That's because you put you in a meditative state at that point. And I think that's also important. Yeah.
That is such a beautiful, beautiful piece of advice, because now that I'm sitting here reflecting, I'm like, oh man, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I loved to garden. Getting out in nature, getting my hands dirty, planting, those were the ways that I was feeding my soul without me realizing that that was the fulfillment I was intentionally setting out to receive. Oh, such a great piece of advice. I love that. I love that. So Dr. Ray, where can the audience find you? How can they connect with you and stay up to date with all of the exciting things you've got going on out there?
Yeah. So for the time being, I'm still on Instagram.
I like how you say for the time. What's next?
Who knows? But yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Dr. Raymond Nichols 3.0. And then I have a Mighty Networks, it's basically a private online community. So you download the app Mighty Networks and then just search Dr. Raymond Nichols. It should come up and you can join the group.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to note those in the show notes so it makes it easier for individuals to find you and connect with you. You guys definitely have to follow him on Instagram. I love the family perspective approach that you take. You know, you really are showing by doing and encouraging through that role modeling, not just for yourself as an individual, but as a whole family unit. It's really, really a beautiful thing. Are you familiar with Sean Stevenson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the same kind of vibe with what you've got going on.
Gotcha. Okay. I love Sean Stevenson. He's an amazing human being.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's originally from St. Louis as well.
He is. Yeah.
We met a long time ago back in the day, and him and his wife are now out here in Los Angeles, and he's really making some big moves with bringing awareness around, you know, our current policies and the changes that we need to make and how we have the ability to contribute to that change. So I love what you're doing. I commend and applaud you for all of your work and your efforts. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, thank you. I've definitely enjoyed this conversation. I enjoy conversation because different things can come up and allow me to learn something about myself, and actually learn something about the person I'm speaking with as well. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So leave the audience with one last thought. How can you provoke them to think differently about being able to step into their authentic power and expression?
Yeah. So one thought I would say, it would be more so of an analogy. I'm gonna go with the analogy of, so think of your dream car, wherever that may be, your dream car. So you get a chance to actually purchase your dream car, and you're excited, right? When you get that dream car. And most likely you're not gonna let anyone drive it. It's your dream car. Like, this is your car, it's your baby. You love this thing. Um, but what if I told you that you already have your dream car, which is this vessel, which is this body, this suit, whatever you want to call it. And we are the only ones that can drive this vehicle, right? That means you can't outsource, you can't let someone else drive your vehicle while you sit in the passenger seat. You need to take responsibility for your own health. And I think that comes with driving your own vehicle, your dream car, and you have it. This is an amazing vehicle that you've been gifted with, to navigate through this thing called life. So yeah.
That is an absolutely beautiful analogy. Thank you for leaving us with that. It definitely provokes some thought and also, reassures possibility. So thank you. Such a pleasure. Thanks for joining us on the Think Yourself Healthy podcast. Make sure you leave a review and let me know what you think. I love reading your feedback. Come hang out with me on Instagram at Heather Duranja, and don't forget to take a screenshot that you're listening to the podcast and tag me. I love to share it. See you on the next episode.